Today I'm going to read from the awesome book of Tornadoes and Other Storms. Cloudy Memories. The weather is a powerful force. William Rankin experienced this when he bailed out of his plane in a violent thunderstorm. He was bounced around in the clouds, battered by the wind for a terrifying 40 minutes before finally parachuting to safety. In 1931, a Minnesota tornado tossed a railroad car 82 feet through the air. In 1876, Dinanath Sarkar of Bangladesh clung to a broken branch all night to save himself in a flood that washed away millions of homes. The terrible hurricane that hit the Caribbean in 1780 killed 20,000 people. The wind was so violent that it hurled a 12-pound cannon 100 feet. Deanna Wyatt and her boyfriend actually flew around the room when a tornado hit their apartment in 1965. The building collapsed, but miraculously they both survived. At any one time, about half the earth is covered in clouds. Around the equator, there are about 30,000 thunderstorms every day. Storm brewing. Thunderheads, or storm clouds, are called cumulonimbus clouds. Cumulus means heaped, and nimbus means rain cloud. You can see fluffy, low-level cumulus clouds building up into tall thunderstorms in warm weather. Some cumulonimbus clouds can be over 9 miles high. An activity for you to try: leave an upturned jar on a saucer of water in a sunny spot for an hour. The heat of the sun will cause some of the water to evaporate and rise as invisible water vapor. Watch the condensation forming on the glass as the invisible water vapor cools and it starts to rain. Clouds can be formed in many ways. In this case, a warm air mass moves in from the right, wet air. It rises over cold air moving in from the left, cold, dry air. Rain forms where the masses meet. In hot weather, warm, wet air and dust rise to form cumulus clouds. The air cools as it gets higher, and droplets form. The base of the cloud is low, but the top is very high. U.S. Park Ranger Roy Sullivan survived 7 lightning strikes. Thunderstruck. Thunder is the sound of lightning. The moving air inside a thundercloud builds up static electricity. This causes a huge flash of lightning that heats the air to 18,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The air expands and explodes, making a thunderclap. How far away is the storm? Count the seconds between the time when you see the lightning and the time when you hear the thunder. Count 1 mile for every 5 seconds. Don't try Benjamin Franklin's famous 1752 experiment with a kite and a key to prove the electrical nature of lightning. A Swedish scientist, trying it out for himself in 1909, was electrocuted. Reports of ball lightning have not been scientifically verified. A ball of lightning supposedly floated around a hotel room in France before drifting out of the window and exploding nearby. Huge hailstones. In 1894, a hailstone that landed in the United States contained a frozen turtle. Some hailstones are the size of tennis balls. In India, these huge hailstones smashed car windshields, flattened crops, and killed thousands of birds. Many farmers now insure themselves against hail damage. The largest hailstones fell during a storm in Bangladesh that killed 92 people in 1986. Each hailstone weighed up to 2 pounds. A hailstone has layers like an onion. It picks up a layer of ice each time it goes up and down in the thundercloud. True or false? Firing shells at clouds can prevent hailstorms. Answer: true. Anti-hail gunners in Uzbekistan fire shells at the sky, scattering tiny particles into the clouds. The smaller hailstones that cling to them melt before reaching the ground. Blizzard behavior. In 2003, 27.5 inches of snow fell on Boston in 24 hours. The world's lowest temperature of negative 128 degrees Fahrenheit was recorded in the Antarctic. If you get stuck in a blizzard, lie down. This is a good survival tip, as the blanket of snow traps a layer of warm air around the body. Remember to make an air hole. Animals often survive in the snow this way. For you to try, snowflakes form when water vapor rapidly freezes as crystals around dust particles. Each snow crystal has 6 sides, and each one is unique. Catch some on a dark glove and study them quickly through a magnifying glass. Avalanche. A weakness in a layer of snow on a slope or a precipice can start an avalanche. As thousands of tons of snow roar downhill, it can reach speeds of over 186 miles per hour, burying everything in its path. St. Bernard dogs were first kept by monks in the Swiss mountains to rescue people trapped in the snow. They wore barrels of brandy for reviving the patients. Monster monsoons. 30,000 people were made homeless in the Paris floods of 1910. A monsoon can last for up to 6 months. Water from the Indian Ocean evaporates in the winter and then falls as torrential rain in the summer monsoons. Farmers in low-lying parts of India can lose everything. In July, Bombay, India gets 8 times as much rain as New York City. Showers of frogs have occurred in many places, such as India and England. Other showers have included crabs, fish, and jellyfish. Land is flooded when rain makes a river rise over its banks. Noah's flood is based on fact. There were floods in the Tigris-Euphrates Valley in Turkey and Mesopotamia around 4000 BC. You can make your own rain gauge from a flat-bottomed plastic bottle. Find out how much rain falls in July where you live. The top of the plastic bottle is cut and placed upside down. Measurements are marked in inches or centimeters. The bottom filled with water to the point where measure starts. The eye of the hurricane. Winds in a hurricane can reach a powerful 224 miles per hour. Hurricane Andrew caused $46.5 billion worth of damage. Hurricanes have eyes. The current of air in a hurricane spirals upward to form a rotating circle of wind around a central chimney. This calm center is called the eye. True or false? Hurricanes are given boys' and girls' names. Answer: true. Atlantic hurricanes are given alternate girls' and boys' names in alphabetical order from the beginning of the season. This makes them easier to reference. Winds over 186 miles per hour can cause unimaginable destruction. In 1992, Hurricane Andrew hit an area south of Florida, tearing roofs and walls off of houses, smashing trees and cars, and piling up boats like little plastic toys. Infrared pictures from satellites provide color-coded information about tropical storms. Scientists can usually track their progress and warn people in time to prepare. Tropical tantrums. The word cyclone comes from the Greek and means coil of a snake. Typhoons can sink ships. Tropical storms can whip up mountainous waves. The highest wave ever measured was 85 feet, but the highest ever seen was 111 feet. Ships are helpless in such stormy seas. Even a warship, such as an aircraft carrier, can crumple like tin in a typhoon. This is what happened to the USS Hornet near Okinawa, Japan in 1945. A storm surge carried this boat nearly half a mile, 3/4 of a kilometer, inland. Huge waves can surge in ahead of a hurricane, flooding low-lying areas. True or false? Hurricanes, tropical cyclones, and typhoons are all the same thing. Answer: true. Tropical storms are called hurricanes in the Atlantic Ocean, cyclones in the Indian Ocean, typhoons in the China Sea, and willy-willies in Australia. Traveling by tornado. Raining fish are sucked up and carried far away before falling. Tornadoes can make children fly. Tornadoes are small, ferocious storms. People, animals, and whole houses can be picked up and dropped some distance away. In 1986, 13 Chinese schoolchildren were carried 12 miles by a tornado before being deposited completely unharmed. A dust devil in the desert is a miniature tornado. Spinning winds whirl sand and dust to heights of between 300 and 3,000 feet. A whirling cloud turns into a waterspout as water is sucked up. It is spectacular, but not terribly dangerous. A tornado, or twister, comes down out of thunderclouds like an elephant's trunk, spinning funnel of cloud that sucks up dust and soil. The funnel gets tighter and the wind gets faster, up to 500 miles an hour. Twister chasers. It was a tornado that carried Dorothy away in The Wizard of Oz. Once, in 24 hours, 148 tornadoes blew in the southern and midwestern U.S. People chase twisters. The more we understand about tornadoes, the easier it will be to predict when one is coming along. Scientists study tornadoes by following them and putting monitoring equipment in their path to assess their strength and learn as much about them as possible. True or false? People can make their own twisters. Answer: true, but not full-size ones. Japanese scientist Tetsuya Fujita studied miniature tornadoes made with dry ice. He developed the Fujita scale, which rates tornado intensity. An eyewitness described a tornado in 1928. The great shaggy end of the funnel hung directly overhead. There was a strong gassy odor. The walls were of rotating clouds with constant flashes of lightning that zigzagged from side to side. Like that. This scientist fires a rocket into thunderclouds. Wires attached to the rocket trigger a charge of lightning. Stripping sandstorms. A sandstorm can easily strip the paint off a car. Loose dust and sand in deserts is whipped up by the wind, flinging millions of stinging grains at every surface. Sand-carrying winds carve desert rocks into strange shapes. Industrial sandblasting is used to strip dirt and paint off of old buildings to make them look new again. A terrifying 9,000-foot-high storm turns the sky dark and sandblasts everything in its path. There were dust storms in the American Midwest in the 1930s. The rain failed and wind blew the dry soil around. Farmers couldn't grow anything. Livestock died and people left the region. True or false? The Sahara has always been a desert. Answer: false. Climate can change. Cave paintings in the Sahara show that it was once home to all kinds of animals that could only live where there was water and grass. In the glossary: air pressure, avalanche, climate, condensation, currents of air, evaporation, hailstones, infrared, monsoon, static electricity, storm surge, and tropical storms.